Welcome to Toffee TV, sponsored by Vanarama, driving fan TV through the summer. So, manager's in, Brands is in, but let's talk about Marco Silva. He's at the club. Baz has been doing loads of research on him to get us up to speed with what we should expect from him. Obviously, you know, he came into English football 18 months ago now, and spent half a season with Hull. Unfortunate not to keep up in the Premier League. Then he moved to Watford, and obviously we tried to get our fingers on him in October, November time. Lost his job in, was it January? January. Lost his job after a run of poor form, which Watford kindly said was because of us, which is good. Also down to a lot of injuries as well that he had. But what do you see, having looked at what he's done in the past? What do you see as his ideology, I would say, coming into Everton?
I think the thing, what's interesting, and you pointed it out when we done the reaction video, he started as a sporting director. He played for Leicester. He was a right back, and then he retired and took over as a sporting director, and they'd lost the first few games, and he was quickly promoted to the manager or the head coach, and that come around because as the captain, which is what he was, he'd been able to bring everybody together at Leicester. But he took over there. They were struggling near the foot of the table, and he quickly got in, and the players from that era were talking about how he was able to give them confidence, make them all believe in an ideology, in a way of playing. And they ended up winning the league that same season. So I think they'd lost the first 3 games, and then under him I think they only lost another 2 or 3 for the rest of the season. And were promoted into the Premier League in Portugal, and everyone was, you know, they only got 1,000 fans at a game. I think it holds 5,000 or something, so it's not a very big club in the slightest. And they went up into the top division, and they finished 4th the next season, 5th the next season, and got into the Europa League. And then he lost 3 of the top players. Avanzo, who ended up with him at Hull, was he was the key, people said, and he went off, and everyone tipped him for relegation because the 3 kingpins had gone, and they actually finished 4th the following season, so they finished better. But he's very very attack-minded manager. But I know there's been a lot, and I even said it as well at first without really looking into him. You know, is he a little bit like Roberto Martinez? But he's not. If you look at and read anything from Portugal and his time in Greece and stuff, he's very not defence minded, but he does look after his defence. He believes that if you start from a solid base at the back, then it's obviously easier to win. His team's transition through counter-attacking football, you know, to being a high-press team as well, whatever it suits, you know, whatever's called for on that day. And I think the big thing that's come out of it is actual coaching methods. And obviously you can only go on what people have said, but these are players who he's worked with.
Experience.
You know, calling him, that Kasami who played, I think he ended up playing for Fulham for a bit, called him a genius. Just said he's a tactical genius. And you know, we've seen the things about, you know, Curtis Davis and Ryan Mason and stuff, saying he physically, when they're going through drills, he pulls them into the positions where they should be. And I think if you can, what rang true from everything I've studied and read about him was he's able to be the manager, but he's also able to unite the dressing room and forge this team spirit. And I think a few similarities there, I suppose, with David Moyes, the way he was able to be the manager, but Everton had a strong team spirit mostly throughout Moyes' years. But this fella's able to do it. Probably, maybe similar to Mourinho. I know in Portugal they see him as baby Mourinho, he's been called. The way Mourinho was able to get that, or was, now he seems to fall out with players, but early on, certainly at Porto and at Chelsea, and even Real Madrid, until he fell with Casillas, a lot of them said he was great at getting that team spirit going. It was us against everybody else. And I think he's like that a little bit.
Yeah, he does seem to have something about him. I've heard that people, players again, saying he does have comes across as a very nice, charming man, but he does have a side to fear as well. And he does seem like that when you see him in. Doesn't give much away in the press conferences, I've noticed as well.
Yeah.
At the time, like a lot of Blues would have, around the time we were getting linked with him, every press conference he was getting asked, and every day he was, he didn't fob anyone off. He just said, well, today we're concentrating on that game or this game, and we're learning and blah blah blah. And so he seems to be all about the business of and like you've just said there, players have said that on the training pitch, it's come here, that's where I want you again, and stopping training sessions and going through things again, meticulous eye for detail, which is what all the best managers had. And although Roberto Martinez, who a lot of Evertonians are sort of comparing him with, which I don't know whether there's any evidence to that. I think it's just one of those things that gets thrown at you if your team concede goals. Oh well, he must play a certain way, without really looking into, well, is it because is there a reason he's got worse players? Is he setting them up in a certain way, but the players are unable to do it? But I don't think Martinez was that meticulous. I just think he had an idea of how he wanted to play, and said and got his players to play like that, but without the detail into what happens if, it's all right having coaching badges and saying, well, this is how we want to play as we go forward, but how do you counter that if the opposition get the ball? Or how do you, and I think this was a big thing that certainly in Martinez's second season wasn't addressed. How do you deal with the opposition when you haven't got the ball? How do you win the ball back to allow you to play that style you want to play? I don't think that was ever addressed under Martinez. It was sort of secondary. It was, well, this is how we're going to play when we're in possession. Well, that's fine. We can go forward. What about the other bits? And that seems to be something that this guy wants to do. Listen, I can't sit here and say it's going to be brilliant or he's a genius at it, but what I can say is that that's what he wants to do. That's why he's teaching his defenders or his midfielders or even his attackers how to approach the other side of the game so you can play the way he wants to play. And I think that's really important. You took, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but look at the Barcelona thing, look at the Man City thing about the 6 second to win it back. That's a way of that not saying that's the way he's going to play, but I'm saying that's a way of getting your players to understand that you can do nothing in the game unless you've got the ball. And that's something that Pep Guardiola is drilled into all his players, and Man City players are now understanding that. It takes a certain player as well to learn how to do that. And I think that's a huge part of where Martinez, even though he said he had the Barcelona philosophy, completely got it wrong. It's that he wasn't prepared to put the hours in on the training ground to do that kind of thing, to get that pressing in, to get that win the ball back at all costs. And I think hopefully this is something that he will implement at Everton.
Definitely. I mean, that's rang through all his teams. All his teams have played very similar. He does have the ideology of how he wants to play, and he sticks to it. And I think what come out is able to get players to play. He likes players he trusts, but he's able to get them to play in a certain way. And I think, Tom Cleverley talking about working on a throw-in for 45 minutes because it wasn't right and stuff like that can be boring, but it makes a big difference, in and out. If you've got someone who's looking into that minute detail, those details can be the difference between winning a game and not winning a game. And we remember Roberto Martinez saying you don't practice corners because what's the point? And you're like, well, the point is if the game's tight and you get one, you can win it. That's the point. It's great playing all the other stuff, but this fella does have that. I mean, I looked at his win ratios It was 44%, I think, at Estoril. It went up to 56% at Sporting Lisbon. It was 79% at
which is ridiculous.
Olympiacos, and then it was 34% at Hull, and 31% it ended up at Watford, because of the way it ended at Watford. But people just look at the way it ended at Watford and just go, oh, he's no good. You've got to remember that before our interference, things were breaking up behind the scenes, but they were doing very well. They were fourth a couple of weeks before they played us, you know, and people were going, these are on outside tip for the Champions League and all that, because the way they were playing. So what I also did was I watched the lot, and I've watched a lot while I've been away on my laptop, watching just situations for his team. So when they're attacking, and they do. It depends how he's got them playing, but when it's the high press, they high press properly. They don't high press like Tosin goes and does it and then they just play around them and it's gone. They swarm all over it, and he favours, in general, he favours a 4-2-3-1,
which we've been playing forever, Everton.
Which we've been playing, but what's different is the two wide players are naturally attacking players, are proper attacking players, and he goes between that and a 4-3-3. When he at Watford, for instance, Tom Cleverley was the difference in the two formations. So when it was a 4-2-3-1, Cleverley was the person who played at the tip of. He had Capuy and Decore most of the time, who are able to get about the pitch. But Cleverley had press from the front, so you'd have four players doing a high press, but you still had insurance behind them. In other games, Cleverley would go and be part of the midfield, so you'd have your out three, you know. So whatever.
Would you like to think Sigurdsson could do that?
Sigurdsson could do, because he can play as a centre midfield, Sigurdsson, so he'd be able to go between the two formations. Then your front three could be, say, Lookman, Tosin and Walcott. You've got pace in the wings, you've got a goal scorer there. Gylfi dropping into that, making it a diamond four, picking off. And it's in what Cleverley was good at for them was keeping the play going, both ways, getting on the ball, and that's what Gylfi would be good for us. The difference where I see with Everton is their two centre midfield players not only physically big, but able to get up and down. Now Garner can do it, someone like Tom Davies can do it, but stature wise, the two little fellas, and I think Tom needs a little bit more coaching. So that's why we were saying on another video on the Tuesday topic, in fact, that's why it's important to get that box to box. The other thing as well, and this is rang true with all of his teams, is the fullbacks give him the width at times. Great on the right side with Seamus, he can do that job all day long. There's a question mark over Leighton Baines, obviously. Can he get up and down enough for this manager? Again, it depends, maybe if he brings another centre back in who's quick, who can cover for Baines, or can one of our midfielders do what Gareth Barry used to do and drop in. So it's going to be interesting to see how he moves this squad around a little bit and who he brings in. But they're generally the formations. He has gone with two up front a few times, but his favoured are a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3.
Yeah, as I say, it's for me when he came into to Hull, I was very sceptical as well over the appointment. Generally, you are when you, especially with the whole sort of next Mourinho kind of tag. We've had that for AVB, and it's not something that sits well. But a Hull, certainly, the things he did with that team were incredible. Really, when you think about it, I know. People will ultimately say, well, he got them relegated. We didn't get them relegated at all. And even if he wasn't our manager, I wouldn't say that. He did not get them relegated. He came in when they had one win. He got rid of was willing to let the player who was then seen as their best player, and they like talisman. He scored against, what's his name?
Snodgrass.
Yeah, scored against us, didn't he? Did. In the 2-2.
Yeah, a few days before. Yeah. And Jake Livermore, who did both. They were the two. Yeah. They were their two best players, allegedly.
And he went out, and he brought in the likes of Nias.
Got
Markovic from Liverpool on loan.
Brought a Banzo, who he'd had before he came in.
And he just
Grzycki, the winger, the Polish.
He made them. He gave them a little bit of hope and a little bit of a bit of a shape. And they went on and won, was it 8 league games? So they finished the season with 9 league games, 9 league wins. So the transformation, they got to the League Cup semi-final,
beat United, beat Liverpool.
They were the completely different side from what they were, and then when Watford, when he took over from Watford, and obviously he had something in his contract that he could leave, went to Watford, and it was instantaneous with them. Went out and got Richarlison, and God knows how we got that work payment. Yeah. He should be on the phone trying to get on Yakura in now. Went for him, and you watch Richarlison, and first half of the season, or certainly when Silva was in, Richarlison was a fantastic when he went up to Newcastle and beat them 3-0. I think they were just, the game that caught my eye, I think they beat Palace at Selhurst Park. They were fantastic. They were. It was all working, and how he wanted them to work. And when they came to Goodison for that first hour, they were really, really good. And then something just flipped in the game, thankfully for us, and we got the goals. But that hour, and Richarlison especially, they were magnificent, and the way they wanted to play was magnificent. They were really positive, and so it's going to be interesting. It really is, and the way, as I say, I think he's a very modern manager. He's a very in tune manager. He's very much knows the job, and I think having Brands with him will allow him to get on with the job of what he wants to do, coaching, not having to be sidelined with other things. And I think that's really important, because as Brands said, no point buying players when if he's not going to pick them, because he picks the 11. He's got the team sheet.
At the end of the day, they've met, haven't they, before they've agreed. Silva's had a couple of issues with, because Watford have a similar setup, except they buy the players and the manager's got to kind of deal with it. And I know Marazzi wasn't happy with it, and Kike Flores wasn't happy with it, but that's the way the Pozzo family do it, and it's an Italian thing, isn't it, I suppose, that they brought with them. And so we had some issues there, but he'll have met with Brands, and I'm sure Marcel Brands will have said to him, well, what didn't work at Watford, and and he will have just said, well, don't sell players I want to keep, and I want to say who we buy, which is all you want. And Watford, I've said this before, I've seen them at Chelsea and they were brilliant. They ended up losing the game, but only because they've missed so many chances. I watched them at Bournemouth, brilliant, 1-2-0, brilliant on the counter-attack, fast, flowing, pressing high, causing lots of problems. They beat Arsenal at home, they were brilliant. There was different things, like Newcastle, like you said, they drew 3-3 with Liverpool under him. Come to Goodison, probably should have beat us, and didn't, but luckily for us. So he's a forward-thinking manager. He said in the press conference he wants to be here for the long term, a long-term project. And if he gets us playing attacking football, the fans will be with him, and then it's a case of building it. Then
I think what's good as well is he's got a clear run at this. He's coming now. Beginning, almost like the end of last season, beginning of a new season. June the 1st is basically the day one ends and one begins. He's got a clear run at this now. He can, I would imagine he can plot his own pre-season. In terms of games. I mean, obviously what actually happens will be down to him anyway. But in terms of games, he's got nothing forced on him. He can go in. He can go in and do whatever games he wants, whatever suits him. In terms of does he go for one game every 3 days, or is he, all those kind of things that are really important. And I think the other thing that's actually quite key as well is that, and I think we mentioned this a few months back, or a couple of months back in a video when we were discussing who would be the next manager when we were talking about Silva, is that managers have got to learn from their mistakes, and if he did make mistakes at Hull, if he did make mistakes at Watford, He has to learn from them.
Yeah.
And it's how they learn. You know, good managers aren't just made overnight. Or some managers don't just have a trajectory that is always on the up. Sometimes there's downs. And do you know what? You don't necessarily learn on the up all the time. Because you don't know you don't see what's gone wrong. So you don't know how to respond from it.
Yeah.
You know, it might sound a stupid thing to say, but I remember when I was learning to drive, and it was like the driving instructor would say, you want things to go wrong now.
Yeah.
You know when you'd be doing like the 5 o'clock driving lesson when it's like rush hour, and you'd be like, why the hell have they brought me out now? It's like, listen, if something's going to go wrong, I'd rather learn from it and learn how to come back. And it's like that for him. He'll have had different experiences at Hull. That was his first experience of being a part of a relegation threatened team, and that was why probably at the time it seemed like a bit of a strange appointment, because he'd been used to being a manager on the up. Okay, yeah, in his first job he come in and it was a bit bad at first, but he took them on. You know, Lisbon the same, Olympiacos the same. So Hull seems like a strange move, but it's all about winning games. And then when he's gone to Watford, he's got to learn from having all that speculation on him, all the pressure on him, and then ultimately getting sacked. And that's what hopefully what he'll come into the Everton job with, all that experience. But then you know what, a fella to the right of him who's like, well, you just get on with doing what you need to do, which is just the coaching part, and I'll look after all that, and we'll do this together.
Yeah, it's a team, isn't it? I know Brands is in charge and all that, but that's what it's. Everyone's got to work together. His ideals seem to be what Evertonians will like. Lots of crosses into the box, attack and fast play. You know, sometimes it's hitting teams on the counter attack. To do that, you need quick players. So, you know, people bemoaned we're not a fast side in transition. We've all said that, haven't we? So, you know, it's going to be really interesting, I think, to see who survives the cull, who he thinks can fit in. It's not going to be a fixed in this pre-season just because he comes in and gets us playing. You know, it might take 2 windows to get 18 players who can play, 19 players who can play the way.
Another 19 players?
No, I mean the whole squad, but littered with other players, do you know what I mean, who can play the exact way that he wants. Whether that's young kids developing who are there now as well. But just to have an idealism, have a pattern of play, have a young manager there who wants to be here. You know, I think that, you know, Ronald Koeman I don't think he really wanted to be here that much. I think he just thought, well, these are alright and it might get me closer to the Barca job. You know, I think he needed persuading to be. There was a disconnect with the fans and him. You know, it's just the way he is. But it didn't work out. There was no real style of play, identity for our club, was there? You know, when you watched it was Barkley and Lukaku, really, that was it. Then we went into the start of the last season and nothing worked. You know, Walsh, he was up, you know, uncertain. Allardyce. So we've got a manager now. You know, it was grim. I mean, what I thought was funny was when they said, you know, how do you turn a team from being 20th in the shots, 19 chances created. So we started laughing because he's probably thinking, well, the only way is up from there, isn't it? You know, and he said to play attacking football, to get the ball forward, to create chances, to have shot. You know, that's what our fans want. It's not difficult. He said you only win games by attacking. And it's right, isn't it? It's right. So I'm enthused. Listen, it might be brilliant, he might not. That's the way it is. But I don't think we can beat him with the stick of the Watford thing and the whole thing. I think they're done. They both had mitigating circumstances, a Hull especially. How we even give them a fighting chance is incredible, as it is. Watford, you know, it went wrong, but like you've just said, you know, no manager's ever going to take over, have a smooth ride till they retire and win everything, because they don't. They have times when it's testing, they have times when it's, you know, you learn from your relegations and you learn from battling, having to juggle players and people's attitudes and different things. So, you know, hopefully he can use all his experience, and he's got someone who he can trust ahead of him.
Ultimately, I think the most important thing is that you're on the right path. You're on the right path from the start, and things will try and upset you, and you won't win every game. But if you're on the right path, then a lot of things can be achieved. But it's just making sure you're on the right path and not getting just knowing you're on it, and other people around you knowing you're on it, and go and whatever happens, if bad things happen, it's like it's okay because it's part of where we're going. I think we've seen that at Spurs early on with Pochettino.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that Liverpool early on. Not everyone will be with you as you go on that place, and it's about establishing who's with you, who's not with you. Sometimes you'll have to leave people behind, and you know what, they might be good players and you might be able to replace them straight away, but if they're not with you, if they're not part of the process, there's no point having them. You've just got to cut them out, and you won't necessarily be good at it straight away as well, and that might lead to disappointing results. But if people are learning, and also if you're not good at it, and you're going to a good side, then that's the other thing. You might lose games by just not being good at that way of playing you. But if you believe in it, you've got to keep going at it, and if it is ultimately the right way, then hopefully it'll have good results and good positive results. But if you know what you want to do, you can't be going to some sides and saying, well, we're just not going to play that way. If you believe in something, I suppose you've just got to stick to it and hope for the best.
That was a line he said last year, didn't he, when he was at Watford? About I can't tell my players to play one way one week and the other the next week just because of the opposition. In terms of, I think he didn't necessarily. You can approach the game slightly differently, of course you can, but you're not going to say we're going to go after teams and press. Oh no, we're playing Man City, we're not going to press, we're just going to sit on the edge of our box, because you're leaving yourself open to be destroyed. We seen that last season when we went to Arsenal. We played a different way, and then we went to Arsenal and we're just wide. We tried 3 at the back or 5 at the back, and it just was a mess, wasn't it? It was an absolute mess. So you'd have to have an identity, and right or wrong, players will ultimately decide whether your system is good enough or not. But you've got to have a system to know what players complement that system. If Jurgen Klopp had Danny Ings, Origi and Solanke up front, I don't think Liverpool would be blowing teams away. Now his system would still be the same, but I don't think it wouldn't be anywhere near as successful as what it is having Salah, Firmino and Mane. So ultimately players will decide how high you go, but you've got to get that thing in place. And Pochettino did that at Southampton. His model, he then took that model to Tottenham, and when he shaped it, they've gone on, and okay, they've been a little bit fortunate that Harry Kane's turned into a centre forward that scores for fun, but he's complemented within that system, and they've bought well within that system, and they've churned it on, and that's why they're an excellent side, and they should be the team we identify with the most, because they've done it differently than most of the other teams who were up there. So
fingers crossed, touch wood, all those things.
Got to be positive now. It's a new era, if you want to call it that, or it's a new beginning. Big changes behind the scenes as well. So let's believe and just see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Let's just all try and pull in the same direction and just have faith that these people know what they're doing.
Let's enjoy going on a match again and enjoy being an Evertonian. It's supposed to. It's there for enjoyment, isn't it? And let's hope. He will want to succeed more than anybody. So let's get behind him and give him the best chance.
I think people will.
Just
finally, I think think about it when Martinez come in, right? Let's be honest. He just got Wigan relegated. Now I'm not saying that's the benchmark, but what I'm saying is that summer when he came in and he gave it all, the Champions League and all that, and everyone was just like, yes, this is boss. The enthusiasm for the club was brilliant, and I remember his first pre-season game was at Accrington Stanley, somewhere like that.
1-4-1,
Fans were loving it, all over him. He was saying all the right things, and he you know, maybe this fella might just be a little bit more guarded. That's fine, but your fans can have that same enthusiasm.
But he understands it's important to connect with the fans.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's like standoffish. I just think naturally he's just a little bit more guarded and just a little bit more reserved in the way he puts himself across. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, though, fans, let's pull together so that, you know what, his first pre-season game, and I'm not saying fans won't be, but let's all be there pushing forward, because I understand the resistance. People don't want to get burnt. They feel like they've been burnt, but that doesn't mean you can't go there. The thing about it is, right, you can be enthusiastic about the manager, but that doesn't mean you have to be unrealistic about the manager. No one has to be sitting here going, oh, we've got this fella in and we're going to win everything because it's going to be amazing and he's amazing and this, and with Brands it's going to be amazing. That's what we hope, but we don't all have to sit here and thinking that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean we still can't be enthusiastic and be like, you know what, let's give this fella all our support. And every you know, the pre-season, show him what it's like to be an Everton manager and show him that we are with him, so that he's like, yeah, these are with me, and then he can point to that to the players and go, they're with you, and if they're with you, then that gives us a little bit more time to get things right. Because the last thing we want is to be fans going into it going, yeah, let's just see what happens, because I think that just breeds a little bit like, yeah, we're not too sure about this fella, and if we're not too sure about them, you're waiting for things to go wrong. That's exactly what happened with Allardyce. You know, whether you liked him or you didn't like him, no one was going to give him that time. Everyone was waiting for it to go wrong. And that was a little bit like the same with Koeman as well. People from the start were a little bit like, not sure about this fella. And because of that, I think the minute it started going wrong, then people were like, no. Whereas with Martinez, well, it took a while. It took a serious while. We had, you know, after the first season, then we had the second season, which was pretty bad apart from the run in the Europa League. But a lot of people forgive him, and then till the very end, I know people who are like, no, he can still turn it round, because we want him to turn it round. And I think you just got to give yourself over a little bit. And you know, that doesn't mean you have to be a fanboy and be sort of like, you know,
can't see any wrong with
him. But that's just being, let's get behind him.
I just think if we all want to see Everton good. And I think we've got more chance of achieving it if we're all pulling in the right direction. Let's see how we go, and hopefully, you know, I think we should be playing the likes of Accrington, Stanley and Aaron's in the pre-season, and I think we probably will end up just doing UK games, playing them, build the confidence up, get some goals, score some goals, and then it gives that good feeling to them. If you win, like if 3 or 4 games, 4-1, 3-0, 4, you're like, oh, he scored today, he scores. Everyone starts getting that little bit of a good feeling. I think when it's great going into tournaments against big opposition, that's great, but let's aim for that next summer when we know what we're doing this summer. I think somewhere along the line, this has got to be the long-term plan, and that's why I'm prepared to fully get behind it now, because I just think we've had bits where it's the toes in the water a bit, and we might do that. Now we've got some money, we've got a proper director of footballing, and we've got a young manager who has done decent things in his career. Yeah, he's had some downs, but he's had a lot of ups. And now for me, I'm just going to go, you know what, let's get behind him and let's watch Everton, and let's enjoy watching our football club again, enjoy talking about our football club again, and not going, you know what I mean? So, because for everyone who's moaning, Allardyce could have stayed. Mashiri could have gone, you got us 8th. That's alright. If you get us 8th again next year, or 7th again, then we'll see what happens.
Just on this is the flip side of Allardyce. He is the flip side. He's a young manager who wants to attack. He is the flip side. Anyone who was moaning or didn't like the style, and there's other people, there's people who did like the style who will not like this appointment because they like that guarded approach, or we got results, it doesn't really matter how we got it. He is the flip side to Allardyce. So let's hope everything is in place for him to be successful. So there you have it. Let us know your thoughts. Marco Silva's in. Baz has give you a little bit of information of what he wants to do and what he likes to do. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. As Baz mentioned there, this week on the Tuesday topic, we've been discussing the positions, some of the positions we'd like to see improved on next season, some players that we'd like to get in. Check that out if you wish on Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe. Dead close to 25,000. Dead close. We want to try and get to 25,000 this summer if we possibly can. So if you haven't already subscribed, because we know there's plenty of you out there who haven't subscribed, click the bell for alerts as well, because there's a new mad YouTube algorithm thing that is not letting people see the videos and stuff. So if you click the bell for alerts, you'll know exactly when a video comes out, and you'll probably get a little notification on your phone, whether it be an email or whatever. And as I say, if you haven't already, join us on Patreon. We'll see you later, and we're looking forward to a really busy and successful summer.